415 million Indians came out of multidimensional poverty in 15 years, says a UNDP study. There's been a steep decline in poverty headcount ratio from 29.17% in 2013-14 to 11.28% in 2022-23. All the 12 MPI indicators show significant signs of improvement in poverty. See, India has grappled with poverty since gaining independence in 1947. For decades, poverty has remained a significant issue, with various governments implementing policies that achieved mixed results, to be honest. So, what happened over the last 10 years? What are the changes that took place? How are we able to better ourselves with regard to the poverty index? But to put it into perspective, we divide India's history into 3 time segments and analyze it to understand the effects of poverty. The pre-1991 period. During the initial decades after independence, India followed a socialist economic model which resulted in slow economic growth and persistent poverty. By 1973-74, the official estimates show that about 54.9% of the rural population and 41.2% of the urban population were below the poverty line. Post-liberalization, 1991 onwards. See, the economic reforms of 1991 marked a significant turning point. These reforms opened up the Indian economy, leading to higher growth rates and a gradual reduction in poverty levels. By 2004-2005, the poverty incidence had reduced to 27.5%. This surely was a decline, but not a significant one, and didn't really solve the problem. Recent trends. The incidence of poverty has continued to decline, with significant reductions noted in recent years. According to the World Bank, the percentage of people living on less than $1.90 a day fell from 45.9% in 1993 to 21.2% in 2011. As of 2021, about 10.2% of India's population lives below the international poverty line of $1.90 per day. This in itself is a major achievement. Comparing ourselves to what we were in the last 10 to 15 years, we've surely come a long way. So see, all of this is great, gives us a perspective on how as a country we have grown through poverty, but the larger question that needs to be answered is, how exactly is poverty measured? So look, there are 2 ways through which this is achieved. Through the global MPI, the Multidimensional Poverty Index, and the national MPI. The global MPI captures overlapping deprivations in health, education, and living standards. It complements income poverty measurements because it measures and compares deprivations directly. The national MPI. This index is an important tool that enables the country to track its progress towards the SDGs, or the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly towards SDG Target 1.2, which aims to reduce poverty in all its dimensions. And what are these dimensions of the National Multidimensional Poverty Index? Like the global MPI, India's national MPI has 3 equally weighted dimensions: health, education, and standard of living, which are represented by 12 indicators, the sub-indices of the national MPI. The first one is head count ratio, or H. How many people are poor? The proportion of multidimensionally poor in the population is arrived at by dividing the number of multidimensionally poor persons by the total population. The intensity of poverty, or A. How poor are the poor? The average proportion of deprivations which is experienced by multidimensionally poor individuals. To compute intensity, the weighted deprivation scores of all poor people are summed and then divided by the total number of poor people. MPI value is arrived at by multiplying the head count ratio, or H as you remember, and the intensity of poverty, or A, reflecting both the share of people in poverty and the degree to which they are deprived. So simply put, MPI is equal to H multiplied by A. Niti Aayog, as the nodal agency for MPI, has been responsible for constructing an indigenized index for monitoring the performance of states and union territories in addressing multidimensional poverty. Recently, Niti Aayog took out a report to address the key findings of the national MPI in India. To put it into perspective, India has achieved a remarkable reduction in its MPI value and headcount ratio between 2015-16 and 2019-21. Let's look at the states. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Rajasthan recorded the steepest decline in the number of MPI poor. The MPI estimates highlight a near halving of India's national MPI value and the decline in the proportion of the population in multidimensional poverty from 24.85% to 14.96% between 2015-16 and 1921. This reduction of 9.89% in multidimensional poverty indicates that at the level of the projected population in 2021, about 135.5 million persons have escaped poverty between 2015-16 and 1921. This indicates that India is well on course to achieve the SDG target 1.2 much ahead of 2030. At the same time, the intensity of poverty, which measures the average deprivation among the people living in multidimensional poverty, also reduced from 47.14% to 44.39%. Let's talk about the disparities across rural and urban areas. See, while disparities in multidimensional poverty still exist between rural and urban areas, with the proportion of multidimensional poor in 2019-21 being 19.28% in rural areas compared to 5.2% in urban areas, the reduction in the MPI value has been pro-poor in absolute terms. The estimates indicate that rural areas saw faster reduction in their MPI value compared to urban areas. The incidence of poverty fell from 32.59% to 19.28% in rural areas compared to a decline from 8.65% to 5.27% in urban areas between 1916 and 1921. But what about the fastest absolute reduction in MPI state-wise? Interestingly, in terms of number of MPI poor, UP topped the list with 3.43 crore people escaping multidimensional poverty in the last 5 years, followed by Bihar at 2.25 crore and Madhya Pradesh at 1.36 crore. Bihar, the state with the highest MPI value in NFHS 4, saw the fastest reduction in MPI value along with UP and MP. Let's now do an indicator-wise comparison of deprivations. See, all the 12 indicators across the 3 dimensions, health, education, and standard of living, saw statistically significant reductions across the 2 time periods. Deprivation in sanitation was reduced by 21.8%, and cooking fuel reduction by 14.6% fell for the most part during 2015-16 to 2019-21. Above and beyond all of this, the Brookings article highlighted India's impressive reduction in extreme poverty, with the headcount poverty ratio, or the HCR, falling from 22.5% in 2011 to 1%. That's right, to 1% by 2020. But how did this turnaround happen in the first place? What were the triggers for the same? Rapid economic growth led to higher income levels and improved agricultural productivity, boosting overall consumption. One of the cornerstone initiatives has been the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, or the PMGKAY, launched during the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure food security by providing free food grains to over 81.35 crore people. This scheme has been pivotal in addressing hunger and nutritional needs, continuing to support millions of households. Another major step has been the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which drastically reduced the unbanked population by opening over 51.7 crore bank accounts, enabling direct benefit transfers and financial inclusion. The direct benefit transfer system, facilitated by the JAM Trinity, the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, has streamlined subsidy distribution, saving the government 2.7 lakh crore and ensuring that benefits reach the intended recipients. The Swachh Bharat mission, aimed at achieving universal sanitation coverage, has led to the construction of nearly 11.45 crore toilets, improving hygiene and reducing health risks. Similarly, the Aspirational Districts program has focused on grassroots development in 117 districts, significantly enhancing health, nutrition, and education outcomes. The Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana provided health coverage to millions, reducing out-of-pocket expenses and offering free treatment. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana facilitated the construction of over 4 crore houses, ensuring shelter and promoting gender empowerment by registering 75% of these houses in women's names. Lastly, the Ujjwala Yojana has delivered over 12.46 crore LPG connections, improving indoor air quality and women's health. See, these combined efforts have led to a remarkable 17.89 percentage point decline in multidimensional poverty, lifting 24.82 crore people out of poverty and really transforming the socio-economic landscape of our country. In conclusion, the past decade has seen significant progress in reducing poverty in India, thanks to the government's targeted initiatives and comprehensive policies. Programs that we mentioned, like the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and Swachh Bharat Mission, have effectively addressed hunger, promoted financial inclusion, and improved sanitation. Innovative strategies such as the direct benefit transfer system and JAM Trinity have ensured efficient benefit delivery, reducing economic disparities, and fostering inclusive growth. Successful schemes like Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana have provided healthcare and housing, enhancing overall being. The significant reduction in deprivations across health, education, and living standards highlights the impactful and sustained efforts towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. As India continues on this path, the strides made in poverty alleviation reflect dedicated governments and collaborative action. The government's proactive approach has not only improved the poverty index, but also paved the way for a more equitable and prosperous future for all Indians. This is Srivar. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.